Hey, it's Davis. If you want to look and find some specific information like type 2 diabetes, maybe like a medication that you're taking, a specific exercise, some fancy, insulin jargon that maybe somebody said online on a podcast, an internet video, or maybe even like a Facebook group, well, that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. So let's get right into it. Hey, now look, if you haven't already, make sure that you like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon. That way you get fresh love as I release it, right? Like fresh love, just like this, right? And anyways, well, let me get right to the juice, okay? Like this, I can't really begin to tell you just how important this is. This all really kind of came about with this book here, okay? For me personally, my life actually changed with this book. I'm going to tell you how and why this all applies to you looking for answers for type 2 diabetics, okay? This is going to be like a special Google. That book is The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss, and it's basically a big book of body experiments, okay? Everything from like sex, sleep, muscle gain, fat loss, like rehabbing old sports injuries, right? The author just goes out to different experts on these specific subjects, and he asks them very simple yet focused questions, okay? Questions like, what do you do? How do you do it? And if a regular person off the street wants to get the best possible results, what's the fastest, easiest, and most effective way that they can do that, right? And that book is basically him journaling through all that stuff. So you can see all his ups and his downs and like all the challenges along the way and like what he would have to do and like all the different, adjustments he'd have to make. And if he had to start all over again, right? What would be the fastest, simplest, and most effective way to now get to the peak, right, of that result? And basically, this really kind of like hit me when I started listening to these different podcasts and like all these different people in Facebook groups and like YouTube videos saying things about like insulin resistance and like type 2 diabetes and this diet this and that diet that and this exercise this and that. You know what I mean? They had so much information, and I really just want to be able to like shortcut everything. I needed like a secret Google, if you will, right? Because all these like diet gurus and stuff, they were saying all this stuff, and I didn't know where to get the answers until I found this. Okay, so what we're looking at here is PubMed Central, okay? It's the US Library of Medicine hosted by the National Institutes of Health, okay? And it has over 5.8 million articles from around the world. Whenever it comes to anything health related, feel free to use this, and here's a perfect example, okay? So let's go ahead and try to look up something like high intensity. A lot of these do have different copyrights behind them, so I can't necessarily show you all of them, but let me show you what I mean with one in particular, okay? Here is a perfect example, okay? So this is a journal, or this was an article written by the Journal of Obesity, okay? Now let's check this out, okay? Here's how cool this is, okay? Here's what I mean. So what they did is they literally took these people and they did right here, okay? Let's look right here. They did 3 to 4 minutes of exercise, okay, with a session typically being performed 3 to 4 times a week for 2 to 6 weeks. Okay, so let's go over that again. Okay, so they did 3 to 4 minutes of exercise, okay, per session, okay, and they did that 3 times a week. Okay, now here's why this is super cool. Okay, and what they did is they did 30 seconds of actual work. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, now here's what's really cool about that. Okay, now obviously we can go through all the information here, which I definitely will put in the show notes here as well, just so you can go ahead and read this here for yourself. However, here is what is awesome. Okay, here we go. By doing these 30-second, sprints or whatever, okay? Now, mind you, if you haven't seen my walking video, I didn't even do this with sprints. I actually started all of this with walking to a timer, okay? Got phenomenal results. Now, here's what's cool. What they found is that their insulin sensitivity, okay, had gone up by 75%, okay, and lasted that way but for 72 hours, okay, 3 days, okay? So imagine how cool that is, 3 to 4 minutes of actual work, and they had a huge insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity spike of 25% at the 24-hour mark and was back to normal at 3 days later. Okay, the cool thing is, let me show you another real quick shortcut here. The cool thing that you really want to try to look at here is usually going to be one of 2 different places, okay? Either going to be here, okay, or here. Sometimes they link to the same, sometimes they link different, because whenever you look at these different case studies, okay, here's why I say this is phenomenal. Okay, whenever we look at all these fitness online gurus and they're reading off all this stuff, what you come to find the more that you actually read the study, okay, is you're gonna get 5, 10, 15, 20 times more love inside of there, right? So for example, I found this whole little high intensity intermittent exercise for fat loss. I was looking for fat loss as a type 2 diabetic, okay? And then I ended up finding out how to increase my insulin sensitivity at the same time with no extra work, okay? I was just gonna look to get thinner anyway, right? And again, I was not doing these crazy hill sprints or anything like that. I started all this stuff with walking, okay? Now let me show you something else that's cool, okay? When you click on these other links, okay, not only are you going to see concurrent and additional study, and articles related to this, typically what you're going to get, some of these sites have different copyright law and protection against them, so they can only produce or maybe only show so much, right? Which is why they give the direct links, right? And which is also why I couldn't show all these other articles. However, at the end of the day, man, anything from insulin sensitivity, exercise, the drugs that your doctor has you giving, okay, perfect example, right? Well, actually, no, I don't want to do that because that can open a huge can of worms for depending on who's watching this. But yeah, I highly suggest that you can actually go in there. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's not some XYZ diet guru. If you ever watch any of these diet experts and stuff like that quoting these case studies, right? If you're anything like me, you're not only are you hey, I want the direct information, at the same time, you're man, when we actually go to read these things directly, we can see that there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 times more information in there that they're even talking about, all right? And dude, this you can use on anything. So I absolutely hope that was helpful to you. Feel free to use this for everything. Oh my goodness, I can't believe just how simple it is. And let me tell you why, okay? So in a perfect example, okay? In some of these dietary groups that I'm in, perfect example, right, is keto, okay? They're arguing about it's all about insulin sensitivity and insulin production and insulin resistance and all this other stuff, and don't look at your blood sugar numbers because this is the real thing. This is what you need to be looking at, right? Well, not really. Okay, and here's why, right? So whenever we go into that, when we ever start to look into that, okay, we can actually now look up insulin sensitivity. We can look up insulin production. We can now look up insulin resistance and how and what markers these different scientists, researchers, doctorate teams from around the world are using. Okay? And the beautiful thing about that is that when to be totally honest, the reason why I say this is kind of like a Google or whatever is that because it really is that simple. And here's what I mean by that, okay? If and when we even just look at this and actually look at what the doctors are using, which they actually are looking at blood sugar numbers, okay? And I'll actually explain to you why here in a second, because it's not me, it's actually them that gets all the credit. I'm just a regular guy, just like everyone else, reading off someone else's answers, right? Here's the deal, okay? When we all understand, okay, any improvement, whether it be insulin production, insulin resistance, insulin, decreasing your insulin resistance, increasing your insulin sensitivity, increasing your insulin production, right? When we simply understand that one of the main jobs, if not for a type 2 diabetic specifically, the most important job of insulin is to basically, signal the cell and say, hey, open up, right? So now all this blood sugar going through our bloodstream can now go into the cell, right? Take a wild guess at what's gonna happen to our blood sugar numbers when it's no longer there and it goes into the cell, right? Yeah, it goes down. You know what I mean? And the cool thing is whenever people are getting lost in the weeds, or maybe you might feel confused or whatever, look, at the end of the day, we can literally look at what are the top people of the world. What are the top people of the world? Number one, how are they getting the results? Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's a vegan diet, a paleo diet, ketogenic diet, whatever it is, stick it in there, okay? You'll be surprised at what you'll get. Then We can also look at, hey, how exactly are they doing it, right? We can actually get away, like for example, a lot of these people are arguing, getting the weird scientific stuff on the internet, right? And they're like really just trying to, like, battle out on who's nerding out on whatever, okay? At the end of the day, if you can just, we all raise our hands and say, hey, so how are you, like, how are you able to prove all this, or what's predicating all this? Your diet, right? You're like, oh yeah, my diet, right? Like, I'm on the keto diet, or on the paleo diet, the Mediterranean diet. Okay, great. Well, what is the diet? It's the food that you're eating, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Show me the foods on your list, okay? Super, super simple, okay? This is literally just that simple, because in some of these studies, right, they actually break down what foods they're actually using, what macro profiles they're using. If you're looking at keto, if they're doing paleo, like, what was the formula that they were using? And I mean, might as well just get, like, the winning cupcake formula from the person that got the blue ribbon, right? So anyways, I absolutely hope that serves you well. If you want to know more tips, tricks, strategies, more than anything, things that can make type 2 diabetes simple, easy, far, fast, and effective as possible, just so you can be yourself, the healthiest possible version of yourself with very little pressure and really just the freedom to grow and be yourself, well, that's exactly what this channel is committed to, because I sincerely believe the faster that we help one another and lift each other up, the faster we're saving lives. The faster we're saving lives, the faster we're saving families, and the faster we're saving families, the faster people just like you and I change the world forever. So know right now that whether you're a type 2 diabetic and you're doing this for yourself or the people that you love, my heart is absolutely with you. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Hi, my name is Davis, and I'm part of a group you've probably never heard of. We can't be defined by the mainstream, as together we're the face of a movement. And because we all know that what type 2 diabetes can do to us and the people that we love, we want all the possibilities to living the life that we deserve. Since we're fighting for ourselves, the people that we love, and for one another, we have to play the game different. We have to play the game smarter, because the faster we spread our message and help each other out, the faster we're saving lives. The faster we're saving lives, the faster we're saving families. And the faster we're saving families, the faster people just like you and I change the world forever. So if no one's ever told you, let me be the first to tell you right now that you have every single right to live in the life that you've always wanted, that you have every single thing that it takes within you to crush type 2 diabetes on your own terms, and don't ever let anyone take that from you. Now, if you ask someone stuck in the past, they tell you what we're doing is impossible, yet it's happening every single day, all because we chose life over type 2, and these are our stories.